Inside an upscale jewelry store, a black girl quietly admires a necklace until two smug security guards approach her with arrogance. The tension rises instantly. Her calm presence contrasts their aggression, but she says nothing. A powerful twist is hinted at just before she reveals who she really is. "We don't serve your kind here. Go back to the street you came from." The venom in his voice sliced through the air like broken glass. The jewelry store, a pristine showroom of polished marble and sparkling diamonds, fell into a hush. Eyes turned. A handful of high-end shoppers looked up from their glass cases, some with curiosity, others with concealed amusement. One woman whispered something to her husband and smiled. Another clutched her purse a little tighter. Two security guards, one short and stocky with a buzz cut, the other tall with a permanent sneer, stood in front of the young black girl like towering shadows. The buzz-cut one had just spoken, loud enough for everyone to hear. He was proud of it. The girl stood near the emerald display. She wore jeans, a white blouse, and a green blazer, clean, simple, and intentional. Her hair was neatly braided into a bun. Her skin, dark and radiant under the ceiling lights, glowed like a contradiction in this place of cold luxury. She didn't flinch, didn't raise her voice, didn't even blink. I said. The taller one stepped forward. "We need you to leave now. This isn't a museum." A sharp smirk followed. That kind of smirk that fed off compliance. The store manager, a pale man in a navy suit, lingered near the back, watching silently, arms crossed, not interfering, not stopping them, not yet. His silence said more than words ever could. Girl turned slowly toward the security guards, her eyes soft and unreadable. A small diamond ring caught the light on her finger. She looked down at it for a moment, then up again. "You sure you want to do this?" she asked, voice low, almost too calm. The buzz-cut guard scoffed. "Oh, now she's threatening us. Out, now, or I'll call the police." He reached for her arm. That was the mistake. The moment his hand gripped her wrist, the air changed. She didn't yank it back. She didn't scream. Instead, she reached into the inside pocket of her blazer and slowly pulled out a sleek, black leather ID badge. The taller guard leaned in, frowning. Then his face changed. No freaking way. The buzz-cut one snatched it, laughing. Until he read the name on it. Silence. The store manager's face went pale. The shoppers started whispering again, but this time something was different. Nervous energy rippled through the room. The girl smiled for the first time, not with smugness, but with precision. "I came here to inspect the store," she said, "not to be dragged out of it." She held her chin high as the tall guard's hand slowly dropped from his belt. His sneer disappeared. "I'm Special Investigator Amara Westbrook, Department of Civil Rights and Consumer Protection. And now ... She looked directly at the security camera overhead. "Now I'm really watching." A gasp echoed near the back. The store manager's lips parted, but no words came out. 1 second passed. 2. And then Amara turned toward the door, walking slowly, not away, but toward the back office. The moment she disappeared behind that door, both guards realized the jewelry store would never be the same again. The door clicked shut behind Amara. For a moment, the only sound in the store was the soft hum of the ceiling lights and the distant chime of a display case being closed. The store manager, Stephen Langford, exhaled hard and broke into motion. His shoes clacked against the marble floor as he rushed toward the back, sweat already collecting at his collar. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the realization that something had gone horribly wrong. And the whole store had watched it unfold. Who let her in without clearance? He snapped at no one in particular. "Sir," the buzz-cut guard, Randy, stammered. "We didn't know she was. You didn't ask who she was." Stephen shouted. "You just grabbed her like she was shoplifting." "She was standing near the emeralds," the tall guard Mason muttered. "She looked, she didn't look like what?" Stephen turned to him sharply. Mason opened his mouth but said nothing. Stephen's jaw clenched. His eyes darted toward the security camera mounted on the ceiling, red light blinking. "Recording everything. Delete the footage," he ordered. "But I said delete it." The guards hesitated. It was too late. Somewhere deep in the pit of Stephen's stomach, he knew it. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It wasn't even a PR crisis. It was something worse. A customer, a wealthy, older woman in pearls, stepped closer to the guards and spoke in a hushed voice. "She said she's with the government?" "Apparently," Randy grunted, still, holding Amara's ID in his hand like it was burning him. He turned it over again. The seal was real. The lettering, crisp. Department of Civil Rights and Consumer Protection. Her name embossed in silver foil, Amara J. Westbrook. Title, Special. Investigator, Discrimination and Retail Conduct Division. Mason rubbed his temple. "I've never even heard of that department," Stephen glared. "You will now." In the back office, Amara sat calmly at the long mahogany table, setting her phone to record mode. She reached into her bag, pulled out a file folder, and opened it with quiet precision. Inside were printed complaints, 6 of them, all filed over the past year. All from customers of color. All referencing either racial profiling, security mistreatment, or being shadowed around the store. One even mentioned Randy by name. Another included surveillance photos. A teenage boy. A black mother with her daughter. A Hispanic father who was forced to show his receipt 3 times. Amara tapped her fingers on the table as she reviewed them, one by one. This wasn't her first visit. She'd walked in before, months ago, unannounced, unnoticed, blending in. She'd watched, listened, waited. This visit was the test. Outside, Mason whispered, "Think she's going to shut us down?" Randy scoffed, but the sound lacked confidence. "She can't. It's not like we did anything illegal." Stephen stared at the door. "You put your hands on a federal investigator." Silence. "And you threw her out of a store?" "She was assigned to inspect." Mason's voice cracked. "So what do we do now?" Stephen didn't answer. He just adjusted his tie and walked to the back office door. He raised a fist to knock, but didn't. Instead, he paused, straightened his spine, and let out a long breath. He knocked twice. Inside, Amara didn't look up. "Come in," she said calmly. Stephen opened the door. She was already seated, notes open, pen ready. His voice tried to sound warm. "Miss Westbrook, if there's been some misunderstanding, I assure you." "There's no misunderstanding," she cut him off. "There's documentation." She slid a paper toward him. Complaint 4. Black woman. Kicked out for touching necklace. Filed 4 months ago. Location, Langford Jewelers, downtown location. Filed by Amara Westbrook. Stephen's hands trembled. He looked up, stunned. Amara's voice was firm now. "I don't just investigate from the outside, Mr. Langford. I test systems from within." "And your store," she continued, "has failed repeatedly." Stephen sat stiffly in the chair across from Amara, hands clasped in a weak attempt at professionalism. But the beads of sweat lining his forehead gave him away. His eyes flicked down to the stack of documents she had laid out like evidence at a trial. He recognized some of the dates. He remembered some of the customers. He had dismissed them all. "Miss Westbrook," he began, "if I may, I'd like to offer my sincerest apology for what just happened." "The guards, they didn't. You've received 6 written complaints of racial discrimination in less than a year," Amara interrupted. none of which were formally responded to. In fact, one complainant reported being threatened after filing. Does that sound like a staffing issue to you? Stephen's mouth went dry. We take these matters seriously. Amara slid another paper across the table. Complaint 2, told I didn't look like I could afford anything. Complaint 5, security followed me the entire time, left in tears. Do you? She asked flatly. He didn't respond. Outside the glass window of the office, Randy and Mason stood by the counter, stealing glances toward the door. They looked less like security now, and more like middle schoolers waiting for the principals. Verdict. Do they know? Mason whispered. Know what? Randy asked, fiddling with his belt. That she's going to shut this whole thing down. Lawsuit? Press. We're screwed. She doesn't look like someone who would do all that. Mason shot him a glare. That's what got us here in the first place, genius. Stephen leaned forward in the chair, lowering his voice. Look, I understand how this looks. But if you could just give us time to adjust our practices, maybe even let us issue a public apology before anything official, Amara raised an eyebrow. You think this is about optics, Mr. Langford? He flinched. I'm not here to rescue your brand. I'm here to dismantle your behavior. Her tone was calm, not angry, not loud, and somehow that made it feel worse. Stephen opened his mouth again, but Amara stood up before he could speak. I'll be conducting full interviews with your staff, including your guards, and I'll need access to the last year's security footage, employee training manuals, and any HR documentation related to profiling incidents. I'd also like to speak to the owner of the store chain directly. Stephen's shoulders sagged. That might not be possible today. Amara's voice didn't waver. Then your problems just got bigger. Outside the office, Mason nudged Randy. You think we're getting fired? Probably, Randy muttered. But I'm not going down for this alone. Just then, a woman with a sharp gray suit entered the store, clipboard in hand, badge around her neck. Another agent. She nodded at Amara through the office glass. Stephen noticed her too. You brought backup? He asked quietly. I brought accountability, Amara replied. This was never a solo mission. Randy whispered under his breath. They're bringing in the feds over a necklace? Mason shook his head. Not the necklace. The lie we built around it. The new agent walked past them without a word, heading straight for the back. She entered the office and handed Amara a flash drive. Full report from surveillance review, she said. We've got 3 more stores flagged with similar patterns. Same guards rotating shifts, same complaints. Stephen turned white. You're saying this? This isn't just about my store? Amara nodded once. It's bigger, and it ends now. She turned to him, her words cutting with precision. You didn't just fail your customers, Mr. Langford. You protected the people who humiliated them. Now, someone has to protect them from you. Mason sat in a small gray break room, hands clenched into fists on the table. The hum of the old vending machine was the only sound until the door opened and Amara stepped in, followed by her associate, Agent Lisa Warren. She carried a folder with Mason's name printed neatly on the front. He didn't make eye contact, just stared at the water bottle in front of him like it held all the answers. You were on shift during all 6 reported incidents, Amara began, sitting down opposite him. That doesn't mean anything, Mason said quickly. I'm here 5 days a week, Lisa raised an eyebrow. That's a lot of days to make the same mistake. I wasn't the one who grabbed her today, Mason snapped. That was Randy. But you stood next to him and said nothing, Amara said softly. That's not much better. Mason looked up, jaw tight. I was following orders. He's the lead. He tells me who to keep an eye on. Amara leaned in slightly. And who usually fits that description? Mason's eyes narrowed. What are you trying to say? You already know. There was a pause, heavy, uncomfortable. Then Mason scoffed, breaking eye contact again. Look, this store's in a rich district. You don't see a lot of people like her in here. Amara's eyes darkened, but she didn't flinch. Lisa crossed her arms. She didn't touch anything. She didn't break any rules, Amara said slowly. But you and Randy both assumed she didn't belong. I didn't assume anything, Mason snapped. We have a system. That word hung in the air like poison. A system? Lisa asked, her tone cold. Mason hesitated. You mean a profiling system? Amara asked. I didn't say. That. But that's what you meant? He shifted in his seat. Look, Randy keeps a list. He calls it the watch list. Just names and descriptions. People who come in too often. People who look suspicious. Suspicious how? Lisa asked. He stayed silent. You know we have video of him detaining a 15-year-old black boy for touching a bracelet with his mother present? Mason looked down. He was scared out of his mind, Amara said. He cried for 5 minutes after Randy threatened to call child services. I didn't know that, Mason muttered, but you didn't stop it either. Silence. I just did what I was told, he said. That's how the store works. We don't ask questions. We just keep people like her moving along. Amara stood. That sentence right there? That's why you're in this room. Lisa looked him over. Do you understand what you've just admitted to? Mason nodded slowly. Yeah, and I think I've known it for a while. Amara walked toward the door, then paused. You still have a chance to do something right, she said. Testify. Help us expose it. The real list. The hidden practices. The manager's knowledge. Mason looked up, eyes tired. If I do that, I'm done. No one's going to hire a racist ex-guard. Amara replied, maybe. Or maybe you finally stop being the guy who let it happen. He sat in silence. Amara left the room. In the back office. Randy watched Mason through the security monitor, arms crossed. Stephen stood beside him. What's he saying? Randy asked, his voice tense. Stephen shook his head. Nothing good. Is he flipping? He's scared. That's dangerous. Randy's voice dropped to a whisper. We should have handled this when we had the chance. Stephen rubbed his face. Well, now she's handling it. Across the hall, Amara and Lisa reviewed Mason's admission. You think he'll testify? Lisa asked. He will, Amara said. They always do when they realize they were never in control. She opened a new file, one with the words Policy Review Langford Security Procedures on top. And there, in black and white text from an old training manual, it was written clearly, be especially alert with guests who appear underdressed, loitering, or unfamiliar to the area. Amara stared at it for a long time. A policy built on assumptions. A business built on quiet racism. And now, it was all coming to light. The clip was only 30 seconds long. No music, no editing. Just raw, shaky footage taken by a customer near the Emerald display. It began mid-confrontation, Randy gripping Amara's wrist, Mason looming beside him, the store manager watching silently from a distance. And then came the moment Amara pulled out her ID badge. The silence, the disbelief. Her voice, calm. I came here to inspect the store, not to be dragged out of it. Uploaded anonymously to X, TikTok, and Instagram, the video exploded across platforms in under an hour. #ID badge check, #racial profiling, exposed #Langford Jewels fail news. Outlets picked it up before the day ended. By sunset, a crowd had gathered outside the store, protesters, reporters, local activists. Chants echoed in the street like thunder between glass towers. She had ID, they had ignorance. We don't want diamonds soaked in racism. Inside, Stephen gripped his office desk like it was the only stable thing left in his life. His phone buzzed nonstop, calls from corporate, legal, PR firms, and angry board members. The store's rating on Google had dropped from 4.6 to 1.8 in 2 hours. They're calling for a boycott, he muttered, a national one. Randy stood across the room, face red with frustration. How did it leak? Mason leaned in the corner. Probably the kid in the green jacket. He was filming. You didn't stop him? We were a little busy getting exposed, Mason snapped back. Stephen's laptop played the clip on loop, muted. Amara's calm face. Randy's aggression. The look on the other customers' faces when they realized who she was. A moment frozen in infamy. Downstairs, Amara stood with Lisa, speaking to a local. Journalist, I'm not surprised by the attention, Amara said. This happens every day. The only difference is that this time, someone hit record. Lisa added, we're not just investigating one location. We've opened inquiries into 4 others under the same brand. The journalist's eyes widened. Is it a chain-wide problem? It's a culture-wide problem, Amara said. Langford. Jewelers just happened to make the mistake of doing it in public. Back upstairs, panic was full throttle. Randy paced. We need a statement. Something strong. Stephen rubbed his temples. And say what, Randy? That we're sorry we judged someone by the color of her skin instead of asking for her name? Silence. Mason spoke up. She gave you a chance. In the office, you didn't take it. Stephen glared. Don't pretend you're innocent. Mason looked him in the eye. I'm not, but at least I'm done pretending it was okay. He walked out. Outside, the protest doubled in size by evening. TV crews set up camp. One man carried a sign with a photo of Amara and the words, "This is what strength looks like." Inside the store, customers had vanished. The glittering diamonds sat untouched beneath their glass. Tombs. Stephen looked around the showroom, empty, silent, like a church that lost its faith. The phone rang again. This time, it was corporate headquarters. He didn't answer. At a nearby CAF, Amara reviewed her team's compiled evidence. The watch list Mason mentioned had been found, printed out, folded in half, and hidden behind the break room refrigerator. Names, descriptions, skin tones. Beside each name, a handwritten word: watch. Loiter. Ask to leave. Call police if needed. Amara flipped through them one by one. Faces of people she never met, people who had been quietly humiliated, labeled, and followed. This wasn't an accident. It was design. And now, that design was collapsing. Lisa looked up from her laptop. Statement from the company's CEO just dropped. She read it aloud. We are deeply disturbed by the recent video footage involving one of our downtown locations. An internal review is underway. We do not condone discrimination of any kind, and we are committed to ensuring a safe, respectful environment for all. Amara shook her head. Too late. They already showed us who they are. At that same moment, in an apartment across town, a teenage girl watched the viral video with her little brother. She had been kicked out of the same store months earlier. Whispered, she stood her ground. Her brother asked, who is she? She smiled faintly. She's someone who didn't let them make her small. The Langford Tower stood 30 stories above downtown, sleek, silver, silent. Inside, the offices were all marble, mahogany, and money. No glass display cases here. Just closed doors and corporate smiles. Amara stood outside the corner office. On the 29th floor, a receptionist gave her a wary glance, then buzzed the intercom. She's here. Seconds later, the door clicked open. Come in. Inside sat Graham Langford, founder and CEO, late 60s, hair white as bone, skin polished like a statue, a perfectly tailored suit. The kind of man who smiled without ever really smiling. He didn't stand to greet her. "I hear you've made quite the scene," he said casually, motioning to the seat in front of his desk. "I didn't make a scene," Amara replied, sitting down. "Your employees did. I just didn't let it slide." He nodded slowly, folding his hands. "I've seen the video." "Unfortunate, unlawful, debatable." Amara leaned forward. "You've received 6 discrimination complaints. Your store managers ignored all of them. One of your guards put his hands on a federal investigator. And your internal training manuals include language that encourages profiling." Langford shrugged. "Retail security is a delicate thing. Patterns matter. You mean appearances." He raised an eyebrow. "Mean the wrong appearances," Amara clarified. "Black customers, brown customers, anyone who doesn't fit your idea of wealth." Langford leaned back. "Tell me, Ms. Westbrook, what do you hope to accomplish with all this?" She met his gaze without flinching. "Accountability, policy, change, staff removal, public apology, and justice for the people you made feel less than human." He chuckled, a short, dry sound. "You talk like a crusader." "No, I talk like a black woman who's tired of being followed in stores." Silence. Langford stood and walked to the window behind his desk, hands behind his back. "Do you know how many brands I own?" he asked. "I know how many complaints you've buried." "I've built a legacy," he said. "I donate to charities, sponsor scholarships, hire diversity consultants. But none of that matters when one moment goes viral." Amara stood too. "It matters when that one moment reveals everything you pretend not to be." Langford turned to her, smile gone. "You really think I didn't know?" he asked, voice quieter now. "That I didn't approve that manual?" Her stomach TENCD. He walked closer, tapping a folder on his desk. The same watch list Amara's team had found. He had it. "I've been in this business for 40 years. You know how you survive in retail? You control the room. And if someone makes your clients uncomfortable, you remove them, no matter how harmless they are, no matter what color they are." Amara's voice was sharp now. "Then why do only certain colors end up on that list?" Langford didn't answer, but the smirk returned. "You're not angry I did it," he said. "You're angry I got caught." She stared at him, the weight of generations behind her. "I'm angry that you still think this will go away," she said. "That you'll be protected by your money and your manners." Langford walked back to his chair, calm as ever. "I've survived lawsuits, headlines, boycotts," he said. "You're just a moment." Amara placed a USB drive on his desk. "Then I guess you've never met a moment that keeps going." He looked at it. "What's that?" "Proof," she said. "Recordings, testimonies, every complaint, every policy, every staff interview." He frowned slightly. "You're bluffing." She smiled. "You'd better hope I am." Then she turned and walked out without another word. Downstairs, Lisa waited by the elevator. "How'd it go?" she asked. Amara exhaled slowly. "He thinks he's untouchable." Lisa smirked. "Good. That'll make it hurt more." They stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, Amara looked up, her reflection in the polished silver wall staring back. She wasn't just fighting a store. She was fighting a system. And now the system was on notice. The crowd outside Langford Jewelers hadn't thinned. It had grown. News vans, banners, chanting voices. A mural of Amara's face now painted across a nearby brick wall. It wasn't just a protest anymore. It was a movement. Amara stepped outside briefly to clear her head, her badge tucked into her jacket, watching from behind the scenes. She never liked being the center of the stage. She just wanted the truth to hold the spotlight. "Excuse me?" A voice said softly behind her. She turned. It was a girl, no older than 19. Braided hair, a plain black hoodie, and wide, uncertain eyes. You're Investigator Westbrook, right?" Amara nodded. "Yes." The girl pulled something from her pocket, a folded-up letter. She handed it over without a word. Amara unfolded it. It was a copy of complaint. #3. Filed 11 months ago. Subject: Black teenage girl falsely accused of shoplifting. Action taken. None. And then Amara's eyes froze. The name at the bottom: Ariel Jordan. She looked up. "You're her?" Ariel nodded. "That was me." Amara remembered the file. Ariel had walked in after school to buy her mom a bracelet for her birthday. She was stopped, questioned, told she needed to step outside while her backpack was searched. She left in tears. No one believed her story. Not even the police report she tried to file after. "You were the one who said no one listened," Amara said quietly. Ariel nodded again. "Until now." They sat together on a bench near the edge of the crowd, voices fading around them. "My mom told me to forget about it," Ariel whispered. "Said the world wasn't built for girls like me to make noise." Amara looked over gently. "But you did make noise." "No," Ariel said. "You did. I just screamed into the dark. You made the dark answer back." Amara swallowed hard. That file. That face, it had haunted her ever since she first saw it. Now, the real girl was sitting in front of her, older, but still holding the quiet damage. "Of that day, I thought I was crazy," Ariel said. "Thought I was too sensitive, that maybe I really did look suspicious." "You never looked suspicious," Amara replied. "You looked young. And proud. And black. That was enough for them." Tears welled in Ariel's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I just wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere expensive," she said. "You do," Amara said. "We all do." Ariel opened her phone and showed Amara something. A photo. It was the exact moment Randy had grabbed Amara's wrist, frozen in time. But in the corner of the photo, behind the glass, you could see Ariel. She had been there that day. "You were in the store?" "I saw it happen," Ariel nodded. "I was too scared to say anything, but I recorded it. Sent it to a friend." "She's the one who posted it," Amara blinked. "You leaked the video," Ariel nodded. "I couldn't stay quiet twice." Amara placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Because of you," she said, "the world saw the truth." That night, Amara called an emergency press conference outside the store. Ariel stood beside her, nervous, but steady. "This is Ariel Jordan," Amara said to the cameras. "She's the girl from complaint number 3. She was ignored, silenced, treated like a suspect when all she wanted was a bracelet for her mother." The reporters snapped photos. The crowd leaned in. "She was a child," Amara said, voice shaking slightly. "And this store taught her to be ashamed of her skin before she even understood the price of diamonds." Ariel spoke for the first time. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said. "And I'm not invisible." A thunder of applause followed, and the chants began again, louder, stronger. "Say her name." "Ariel Jordan." "Say her name." "Ariel Jordan." Back inside the Langford Tower, Graham Langford watched the broadcast in silence. His reflection stared back at him in the screen. Behind him, a board member muttered, "This is spiraling." "Graham," he said nothing, because for the first time in decades, he didn't know what to say. The courtroom was packed. Not a trial, but it might as well have been. The City Civil Review Board had never hosted such a public session. Camera crews lined the back wall. Protesters stood outside, holding signs with Amara's face and the words, "Truth has a badge." At the long table in the front sat the two guards from Langford Jewelers, Randy Morrison and Travis Dale, in matching gray suits that suddenly looked too tight for their egos. Beside them, their lawyer whispered strategy, but even his confidence was paper-thin. On the other side sat Amara Westbrook, not as the prosecutor, but as a key witness. And sitting just behind her, flanked by other victims, was Ariel Jordan, her presence a quiet flame of justice. Mr. Morrison, the board chair began. Let's start with the events of July 4th. What was your reasoning for approaching Ms. Westbrook in the jewelry store that day? Randy leaned forward, placing his hands deliberately on the table. His voice, calm but defensive. She didn't look like she belonged. A gasp swept the room. The chair raised an eyebrow. What do you mean by that? She wasn't dressed like a customer, he said. She was standing near the diamond counter, not holding anything, not speaking to an associate. That's suspicious behavior in retail. And you didn't recognize she was holding a federal ID? The board member pressed. I didn't see any ID, Randy lied smoothly. A large screen lit up. Exhibit A, the surveillance footage from inside Langford Jewelers. There it was, clear as crystal. Amara holding her ID out, Randy ignoring it. Travis standing with folded arms, like a silent wall. And this? The chair asked. You still say you didn't see it? Randy's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. It wasn't clear at the time. The room TENSED. Next came witness testimony. An older white woman, a longtime customer of Langford's, took the stand. I saw them drag her out, she said. I knew something was wrong. That girl looked calm, professional. She said she was federal, but they didn't even flinch. Another man stood up, a former employee of the store. They told us, watch the darker ones more closely. That was an unspoken rule in training. Gasps again. Langford's attorney objected, hearsay. But this wasn't a courtroom with a jury. This was a public reckoning, and the truth wasn't silent anymore. Then came Ariel's testimony. She stood behind the microphone like she'd done it 1,000 times, even though she was shaking. I was 15 when it happened to me, she said. They took my bag, made me cry, told me the earrings in my hand weren't in my budget. She looked at Randy. You don't remember me, but I remember you. You laughed when I ran out crying. Randy looked down. For once his smirk had disappeared. Then Amara was asked to speak. She stepped up, voice steady, posture grounded, badge clipped to her belt. I wasn't just racially profiled, she said. I was dehumanized. She paused. And this isn't just about me. This is about how systemic bias lives in everyday spaces. Fancy ones, expensive ones. Ones that claim class while erasing the dignity of anyone who doesn't fit their image of a paying customer. Silence, powerful, loaded. Silence. And then came the final nail. Exhibit C, Travis Dale's social media posts. One by one, screenshots appeared on the screen. Coded language, shared memes mocking BLM, sarcastic comments on affirmative action hires, and worst of all, a private message uncovered in a subpoena, sent the night after the incident. Guess who got snatched today? Federal chick. Thought she was Queen SHT. LOL, not anymore. Asterisk. The crowd erupted. The board chair banged the gavel. Silence in the room. But the damage was done. This wasn't just bias. This was patterned behavior. After a short recess, the board reconvened. Their decision came quickly. Effective immediately, both Mr. Morrison and Mr. Dale are suspended pending full investigation and barred from working in private security contracts. within the state. A cheer rang out. Randy slammed his fist on the table. Travis sat frozen, pale and mute. For the first time. They were the ones being removed. Amara walked out into the daylight with Ariel beside her. Neither of them smiled. But both of them breathed deeper than they had in a long time. The fight wasn't over. But today? Justice had spoken loud and clear. The video clips from the civil hearing hit social media like gasoline meeting flame. By morning, the name Langford Jewelers was trending, not for its diamonds, but for its discrimination. Shame on Langford. Hashtag Amara Westbrook. Hashtag Not Your Store. News anchors debated it live. Influencers posted side-by-side images of the guards and Amara's federal badge. Former customers shared their quiet humiliations, revealing that this wasn't the first time Langford's exclusivity crossed into racism, but the real explosion happened inside the headquarters, the Langford Jewelers boardroom. Usually an oasis of calm design and corporate polish, now felt like a pressure cooker ready to burst. CEO Gregory Langford stood at the head of the table, tall, white-haired, legacy draped across his expensive suit like armor. But today, his armor had cracks. We need to control this narrative, Gregory snapped, slamming a printed news article on the table. The guards assault federal agent at luxury retailer. That headline alone is a lawsuit magnet. We should have apologized the moment it happened, murmured Sasha Boone, head of public relations, the only black executive in the room. Gregory looked at her. We didn't know she was federal. Sasha didn't blink. That shouldn't have mattered. Around the table, board members shifted uncomfortably. Sales have dropped 18% in 48 hours, said the CFO. Online purchases are frozen. Influencer partnerships have canceled. And we're seeing petitions from 5 major cities calling for boycotts. Are the guards still employed? Another executive asked. Gregory shook his head. They've been suspended pending investigation. That's not enough, Sasha said. Her voice was quiet but cut like a blade. You know that's not enough. Gregory's jaw clenched. We don't abandon our own at the first sign of fire. We investigate. Investigate? Sasha stood now. Gregory, there's video. There are witnesses. There's a federal ID, and the man laughed about it online. She paused. Do you know what people see now when they look at Langford? They don't see elegance. They see entitlement wrapped in gold. The room went silent. Sasha looked around, into eyes that refused to meet hers. I've worked here 10 years, she said. I've worn your diamonds on national campaigns. But I've also been followed in your stores twice. Gregory's face darkened. And you're just saying this now? I said it to HR, Sasha replied. They called it a misunderstanding. Across the table, the general counsel rubbed his temples. We're going to be hit with a civil rights suit, possibly a federal investigation. Then we fight. It, Gregory said. No, Sasha said. You don't fight it. You own it. Another board member, an older woman, spoke up. If we fire the guards, release a statement, and offer Amara Westbrook a public apology, we might salvage some trust. Gregory shook his head. Apologize? Publicly? To someone who humiliated us? She didn't humiliate us, Sasha snapped. She exposed us. That was the line that broke the boardroom. Voices rose. Arguments flew across the table, like thrown daggers. Sales versus morality. Image over integrity. Do we stand for luxury or justice? Gregory raised both hands. Enough. But the room was no longer his. Sasha leaned in. Calm, cool, unwavering. If we don't own this now, Gregory, you'll be the CEO. Buried a company under his own pride. She turned to the others. I resign, effective immediately. Gasps. Sasha picked up her notebook and walked toward the door. You're making a mistake. Gregory called after her. "No," she said without turning. "You made it. I'm just not staying to watch you double down." The door clicked shut behind her. Silence. One board member looked at Gregory. She was the face of our future. Gregory sat down slowly, hands shaking just enough to notice. He didn't say it aloud, but the truth echoed in the room. The brand was burning. And it wasn't just fire. It was righteous fire. That night, Gregory Langford stared at the emails flooding his inbox. Hundreds of angry letters, calls for resignations, boycott campaigns, even celebrity responses calling Langford a relic of racist luxury. His phone buzzed. It was a text from the mayor's office. "We are withdrawing from all upcoming Langford-sponsored city events." Then another. "Federal review underway. Be prepared." Gregory closed his laptop. And for the first time in years, he felt what the guards had refused to feel. Fear. The marble floors of Langford Jewelers hadn't changed, but everything else had. There were no customers today. No soft jazz playing. No security guards pacing near the entrance. Just a hollow silence hanging in the air. And then the doors opened. Amara Westbrook stepped inside. This time, she didn't flinch. She didn't pause. She didn't brace for insult. She owned every step. Behind her walked two federal officers and a lawyer in a crisp navy suit, her badge swinging from her hip. They weren't there to arrest, just to observe. Today wasn't about punishment. It was about closure. Inside, the regional manager rushed out from the back room. "Miss Westbrook," he stammered. "We weren't expecting." "I'm not here for jewelry," she interrupted. Her voice was steady. "I'm here to finish something." A camera crew from a major news network was already set up outside, broadcasting live. The nation had been watching this story for a week. Now it was about to see how it ended. Amara walked past the same glass counters where the guards had insulted her, the same place they called her a problem and tried to drag her out. But today, they were gone, suspended, charges pending, apologies written, but not accepted. The CEO wasn't present either. He'd resigned 2 nights ago under pressure from the board and an avalanche of public backlash. Langford Jewelers had fallen, but Amara hadn't come for revenge. She came for truth. She stood in the middle of the store, turned to face the cameras, and took a deep breath. "My name is Amara Grace Westbrook. I'm a federal agent, a veteran, a daughter, a black woman, and a citizen of this country who walked into this store to buy a bracelet." She paused. "They kicked me out because of what I looked like, not because of who I am." The live broadcast was streaming everywhere. Phones, airports, living rooms, college campuses, city halls. Even in Langford stores across the country. "But there's something I haven't shared publicly yet," she said. Everyone leaned in. Her lawyer stepped forward and handed her a thin manila folder. Amara opened it, pulled out a document, and held it up for the cameras. It was a deed. Signed, stamped, legal. This store, Langford Jewelers? It was co-founded by a man named Benjamin C. Langford in 1923. But there was another name on the original papers. She unfolded another sheet of yellowed paper. "Eleanor Grace Westbrook, my great-grandmother." Gasps. The Westbrook family helped fund and build this store nearly a century ago. But after the market crash of 1929 and the rise of discriminatory inheritance laws, our share was erased. Quietly, legally, strategically. She looked directly at the camera. "This place was stolen from my family." A silence deeper than marble echoed through the store. Amara continued, "Today I'm not just a federal agent or a customer they wrongfully judged. I'm a descendant of this store's forgotten founders. And thanks to a recent court ruling and historical ownership records, I'm proud to say," she reached into her jacket, pulled out a smaller envelope, and handed it to the manager. I now hold a 41% stake in Langford Jewelers." Boom! Just like that. The air shifted. The cameras caught the manager's jaw drop. Amara smiled, not out of smugness, but something stronger. Peace. "I'm not here to destroy the store," she said. "I'm here to rebuild what should have always included people like me." She turned back to the camera. "I want every black girl who's ever been followed in a store to know you deserve to be seen. You deserve to own. And one day, you just might walk back into the place that rejected you as the boss." She paused, her voice softening. "And when that day comes, you won't need to say a word. Your presence will say everything." Amara walked out of the store slowly, her heels tapping like thunder on tile. Outside, the crowd erupted into cheers. Not for the scandal. But for the victory, for the dignity that couldn't be silenced.